Well, hello there YouTube. I think this is going to be one for the jukebox fans. I've got a new project. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the Rock-Ola 456. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. It's a bit of a shed, isn't it? I say it's a new project. I've actually had this getting on for 10 years. I bought a Rock-Ola Max jukebox, well, about 10 years ago. It was a bit of a fixer-upper. I fixed it up, I got it going, it's been playing in the shop. And not long after I did that, I saw this one going cheap. I think I paid about 30 quid for it. That's Bugsy, by the way. He'll be helping us with this build, no doubt. But yeah, I paid about 30 quid for this thing because it was a bit of a scrapper 10 years ago and it hasn't improved with age. And to be honest, I bought it, I took it to the shop with the idea of doing it up. It never happened and it's been sat in the back, getting a bit damp and a bit rotten for the next 10 years until this week when I finally brought it home and I'm actually going to do something with it. So let's have a look. So Bugsy, you'll have to move out the way, fella, because I want to lift the lid. Come on, shoo, shoo. Thank you. So yeah, for those of you who haven't seen a Rock-Ola 456 before, it was made in 1974, I believe. I don't think it's been run in a very long time. Well, certainly at least 10 years, because that's how long I've had it. But just looking at some of the record labels that are in here, I mean, we've got Housemaster Boys, we've got Dead or Alive, House Martins, you know, that some of these tracks, I mean, the latest thing on here is 1987, so I don't think this thing's been running full-time since much after 87, to be fair. It seems to have had an interesting past, though, because if you look at all the labelling, I don't know if this is going to come out just on my crappy little phone camera, but this is all in German. Not just the labels and removable bits, but if you hold a torch up behind there, all these sort of enter first digit and things like that, the little light displays here, that's all in German as well. So quite where this thing came from and where it ended up is anybody's guess. No, I don't know, maybe in 1974 this was considered quite cool and stylish, I don't know, but to me, it's a bit naff. So let's have a closer look inside. Okay, as I said, I bought this as a parts machine, and one of the first things you notice when I take the front off, if I can shift that, trying to do that one-handed, that's a bit difficult, but first thing you notice is the speakers are missing. Looks like most of the crossover circuitry's gone as well, and that brings us to in here. I'm just going to pause the camera and put a light under there so we can see what's going on. So yeah, here's the view from up top. You have to excuse my little desk lamp there, that's just lighting things up so we can see what's what. So, what parts have been robbed out of this before I got it? Well, for a start, there's no fluorescent tubes in it, apart from one. The coin mech is gone, but that's not the end of the world. On the other side, there's an issue with the credit unit, or lack of. On the power supply, distro, control bit, whatever you call this thing, the play relay's been swiped out. On the amplifier board, and you can't see it from here, but the volume control's missing from the back, and I can't see any other volume control on here, so I'm going to have to investigate what's going on with that. You'll notice that there's no plug plugged into the turntable input there. And on the turntable itself, that's taped up from where I was moving it this morning, but it's got a cartridge, it's got a stylus, but there's no wiring, so I'm going to have to make a new cable to plug into that socket up there. Looking around, the rest of the wiring does appear to be intact. You've got that's the sort of control selection logic in there. Whether it works or not is anybody's guess, but it doesn't look like it's been messed with. The rest of the wirings all seems to be where it is. I mean, that's been unplugged. I think that was already unplugged when I got it. This was hanging out, and the wiring, I'll be honest, looks a little bit manky inside. I might have to address that. Let's have a look down here. Excuse the shaky camera work, it's surprisingly difficult to do this one-handed. So, the popularity wheel there, of course, we've got this sort of mechanical selection memory thing there. I've noticed that on the right in carriage there's a bit of broken plastic where one of the solenoids hits in, so that's going to need gluing up before it falls to bits altogether. The mech is going to be a lot of work, I think. The turntable platter still spins, but the carriage and the gripper, I've tried turning the motors by hand, just using the little knurled thing on the back of the motor, and it feels as stiff as all hell. So all of this particularly this gripper motor mechanism thing here, that's all going to have to come apart and be degreased and cleaned up and re-lubed. I've seen a few videos on YouTube of people doing that, and it looks like it's a bit of a job. Likewise, the carriage feels very stiff, so I think that's going to have the same treatment. Whole thing needs a damn good clean up. But I think there's life in it, because if you look at the play counter down here, that's suggesting that's what, 18471, so 18,000 plays. Now for a jukebox from 1974, that's actually not a lot. My Rock-Ola, which is a few years newer than that, was about 77, 78. That's got over 100,000 on it, so I'm hoping with a bit of a clean up and a degrease and what have you on this can actually be a nice little mech. So right here, this is the back of the lighting. That's the little lamps that light up to tell you to make a selection, first digit, second digit, all that kind of malarkey. And you can see a couple of these resistors have seen better days. That one seems to have split up. There's a good chance it still works, but I don't know. I probably wants replacing with something that isn't falling to bits. The switch gear for the selection, again, all appears to be present and correct. And you've got your latch relay there, various micro switches and little bits like that. They all look like they're okay, but I think plenty of service oil and all these contacts to get things working right. And then there's the mystery of the missing credit unit. Well, it wasn't entirely missing. As I said, this was sold to me as a parts unit, and it obviously had some parts cannibalised off it. But it came with this credit unit put in. Now, I've had a look at this, and fair enough, it's Rock-Ola, it's got all the right plugs on it, yada yada. But if you turn it around and look on the back, it's completely microprocessor controlled. Now, I'm not the world's greatest expert on Rock-Ola things, but I don't think this credit unit belongs in a 1974 Rock-Ola. This looks to me like sort of tail end of the 70s. It's for a completely different machine. Whether it would actually work with this, I don't know. It might have been just the guy that I bought this off had a load of parts and just threw it in here to make up the numbers. But I've had a look at the schematics for this particular jukebox, and it should be a mechanical accumulator type of credit unit, not one of these microprocessor controlled things. So that's going to need swapping out for something more authentic to the box. So yeah, that's the state of play of this jukebox in a nutshell. So all it needs to make it work is to degrease and lubricate everything. Probably going to need to repair the amplifier and the wiring to the control board. It needs a new play relay. It needs a new credit unit. It's going to need the switches cleaning on the selection. All that write-in, readout stuff will probably be seized up and need a good clean out as well. It needs a new set of speakers. It needs lights. But apart from that, I think this could be a worker. At which point you're probably thinking, well, why bother? It's a bit of a mess. Yes, it is a bit of a mess. The idea is that I'm going to get this mechanical lump of junk working. If I can just get the mechanics of it working, if I can get the amplifier working as well, that'll be a bonus. But otherwise, I want to strip the working guts out of this and build a new custom console for it. Because any proper jukebox should have a visible play mechanism, so I'd like to build one that has all that, be completely customised the way I want it to be. I've seen a couple of people on there's a jukebox forum on Facebook, and somebody's built one that just looks the absolute nuts. I want to have a go, see if we can do something similar with this. Build my own jukebox. You all right there, Bugsy? Yes. So there we go, that's part one. There's probably going to be quite a few parts to this. It's going to be a bit of a minor mission just to get the mechanics working, much less start on a whole new cabinet for it. So watch this space. We'll see how we get on with it. Ta-da!